Okay, we're live.
Well, hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. Here we have a big crowd, so thanks for your flexibility also in moving over to this YouTube platform so we could talk with more people. I'm Lauren McLean, Mayor Boise, and I'm here today to answer some questions and to try to provide clarifying information on our phase one social distancing order, healthy Boise order, and what happens next. I know it's been a really hard time for all of us and for many of you on this call in particular, as we in March moved to close businesses and ask people to stay home to protect public health. We have made incredible progress according to the data that the state epidemiologists and the governor and the health districts are looking at, the information we get from hospitals. And so as we moved into these stages, it's up to each city to come up with orders, but also to ensure that we can move safely, as you know, into the next phase. And that's fully my intention as well. I want to say a couple things, and I'm just looking at notes to make sure that we get to it all. I hope that out of this, there will be more clarity on how our health order changes when we reach phase two, what kind of requirements will be in place for close contact services when we reach phase two. And then of course we have staff here from our economic development office. Also, if there are questions about the assistance that might be available to those of you that didn't qualify for other forms of early assistance. And so just some logistics. We have Sean Keithley here from our Economic Development Department. He can answer some of those questions. And Lana Grable will be monitoring the questions in the chat and asking me questions. And as all of you know, we asked you to submit them early, so there are a lot that we received. And we'll go through some of those, and then Lana will be looking at additional on the chat as time allows. So let's see. And as you know, we have only 30 minutes, so we're going to try to get to as much as possible. If we don't get to your question, if it's something that's not touched on, I apologize. And please email Mayor McLean, and that's Mayor, then MCLEAN at cityofboise.org, or you can call 208-608-7000. And our communications team here at the city is actually going to be taking all the questions that we've received from you related to this session, and then anything else that we get, and try and put together a communications document that we'll share with you. So before I kick it over to Lana to ask some questions, I want to bring up the one that I'm getting the most, and that is how does our social distancing order impact a move to phase two? When and how do we move to phase two? What data are we looking at? And what that means for the health order. And so I think right now, while I'm chatting, Lana or Sarah is sending you a link to our public health order, because I want you to see that, and I want you to see the last paragraph in there so that you can see that from the beginning, and I apologize if this hasn't been clear. Our order took effect, and our public health orders are allowed to take effect for 30 days. However, in here, we point out that we'll be looking at the data and criteria that the governor set in Rebound Idaho. So in our own order, we link to that data set. And if that data is met to allow us to move to phase two, as dictated by Central District Health and State Health and Welfare, then our order is amended or changed. And so as we move to phase two, when that happens, I expect, because people are asking what that means for phase two, I expect that what we will do is, just late last week, protocols for close contact services were released, and we will require that those be followed as we progress to phase two. So I wanted to say that up front, that I have no intention of looking at data that's different than what's being provided by the health departments and those parameters. And in speaking late last week with the health department, they plan to provide the city with guidance on the status of the county's progress towards those parameters and whether or not it's time to move to phase two. And at that time, as my order says, we will make amendments to the order, or we'll come up with a separate order that addresses requiring protocols for stage two. And I want to say too, that when I've said that our stage one order is the governor's stage one with additional safety measures, that has been that we required that physical distancing be followed. That we haven't allowed the public that's not traveling into the airport. So we made airport requirements. And we also have said that groups should not gather. So those were requirements that we clearly detailed in our phase 1 order. But again, those were the extra precautions. And in phase 2, we will have similar extra precautions based on what's allowed by the state. So I hope that that has helped each of you understand that if the data presented by the health district and the state makes it clear that we're moving to phase 2, we will have an order that reflects that and addresses the safety protocols that have to be followed to allow businesses in phase 2 to operate. So with that, Lana, do you want to, or would you please start with some questions that you've collected?
Absolutely. Thanks, Mayor. And quickly, I just want to reiterate that we'll have all of the links that we're referencing in the chat, and we can also follow up in email with all of that information, so you have that readily available. So with that, let's get started. Mayor, Jen asked if the order you signed pertains to massage practitioners, tattoo shops, artists, and barber shops, and if these businesses are going to be on the same opening schedule as salons.
So the order I signed in phase 1 applies to everyone. And in phase 2, it'll apply to everyone, and we'll have requirements that close contact services follow specific protocols. So if your business, a tattoo parlor or massage service, is considered a close contact service, it would fall under the protocols that the state has developed for those businesses. We aren't defining businesses in ways differently than the state's defining them.
Thank you. And Maria and Patrick emailed and asked, will you verify one way or the other if Boise will move forward to stage 2 if the state moves to stage 2? But in another way, will Boise businesses be allowed to open at the same time as Nampa, Meridian, Eagle, Caldwell, Garden City? If not, what is the rationale? Do you think Boise staying closed while the rest of the metropolitan area opens will keep Boise citizens healthier?
Great. Thanks for that question. That's similar to the one that I hear often, and that is, when do we open? And I agree with you that a regional approach to all of this has been the best strategy. And so when the governor closed the state down, it made the most sense because we all stopped at the same time. Our order refers to the same parameters that the governor will be looking at and that Central District Health will be looking at for Ada County. And if they say that those parameters are met, then we as a city will advance to phase 2 with, I imagine, everybody else advancing to phase 2.
Great. And then Tim emailed and asked, my question is, besides—
Lana, I'm sorry. I'm actually I need to either increase my volume. I'm going to try increasing my volume. I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you say that again? Oh yeah, yep. I just made mine really high too.
No problem. So Tim emailed and asked, my question is, besides the stage 2 protocols for close contact services, is there any other guidelines that you would want us to adhere to open on the 16th?
Great, thanks for asking that. So again, it's when phase 2 begins, the governor just last week, and I believe that Lana has shared a link to that as well, released protocols for the operations of close contact services. If you read those, they often say suggested. In consultation with the health district, we will propose that they be required. So all that we're asking close contact services to do when we move into phase 2 is to follow the protocols released. We will continue to have other precautions like addressing the airport, crowd sizes, et cetera. But those protocols that have been developed for your industry are the ones that we will require that you follow.
Great, thank you. And I think this next one that we received from Joey is probably best for you to answer, Sean, if you can. Joey said, we cannot receive unemployment and PPP, which I think is the payment or paycheck protection program, at the same time, and the grants passed by the governor don't apply to all of us, especially if you rent a space and do not have employees. Those weren't meant for most of us. And so I think what Joey's asking here, are there any additional resources on financial assistance that is available to some of us on the call?
Yeah, Lana, thank you. The great question. And also, I just want to mention that I'm doing my best here with everyone else to deal with the closure of many of our businesses here in Boise. My hair typically isn't covered by a cap, but it grows up rather than in a more contained way. So I'm doing my best here anyway. With regard to the question, yes, Lana, there's some resources that are available to businesses and individuals. The state, for example, just released a program today. It's the cash grant program that allows businesses to receive up to $10,000 as a cash grant, of course, pending some specific qualifying elements. And details of that program are available, I believe, in the chat that have been posted as part of the Zoom call. There's also a specific program that is offered by the State Department of Labor that provides assistance specifically for gig and contract workers who may not otherwise qualify for some of the other benefits offered through the state. And that is also in the chat, I believe. But one thing that's unique about that program is that it does offer assistance to those who aren't considered typically full-time workers, 1099s and contract workers especially.
And Sean, did you say, are those links in the chat?
They should be. Am I correct on that, Lana?
Yes, those are in the chat, and we will follow up with an email. I know we're sharing a lot of links, so for everyone that's registered on this call, we will follow up with an email shortly after, so those are more readily available to everyone.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, the next question comes from Mari, and she asks, since we cannot maintain 6 feet of distance between us and our client, is it required that we wear masks as the service provider and that our clients also wear masks?
Great question. Did you say Mari? Was it Mari? Mari. So this is where I think that the protocols that have been developed by the state for operation are great, because they do. I know that as an industry, you guys have a ton of sanitation measures that you take, and it's not possible to distance. And health professionals have said, the heads of the hospitals I've talked with, the health district have said, when you can't be 6 feet apart and you're close, a mask prevents that transmission. And so the masks are included in the protocols that have been developed by the state, and we intend to require that. So yes, I will be including in the next order a requirement that salons wear masks. At the very least, those that are employees, and that's in the protocols. And then I'd really encourage you as an industry, just as many businesses around the city are, many businesses are asking their clientele to wear masks before they come in. That's a decision that business by business people are making. But please, I just want to reiterate the importance of looking at those protocols. The links in here, we'll send it out by email again. Those were developed and released, I think, late last week for close contact services, so specific to the industry that each of you is in.
Great, and this one is from Kara. She asks, are you aware of the salon industry sanitation and disinfection standards before COVID and our elaborate plans for safely reopening amidst COVID?
I am, and I think that was Kara. Thanks for asking that. I spoke with a member of your industry last week or 2 weeks ago, it was Shelby Bills, and she went through all of the recommendations that that salon follows, that the industry is recommending. I know that the place that I go to is incredibly clean. I recognize that every day when you're opening, you're taking steps to keep each of us clean and safe. And those protocols that have been developed that recognize that as well, and then talk about the importance of some additional things, some changes to the way we operate, because COVID is different than other things that we've tried to prevent through sanitation, et cetera, in your salons. So again, I laud the steps that all of you take on a daily basis to keep your services safe and your salons clean so that your clientele feels safe. And we appreciate it. And then recognize also that the protocols specifically related to COVID are incredibly important. And that's what we intend to ask that you follow as we move into phase 2. Great,
and we've received a couple of questions about the data that we're looking at. Can you touch on that again, Mayor?
Sure. We are looking to the health district and the state to determine what parameters have to be met, and then to look at the data and determine if those parameters have been met. So as a city of Boise, we've been asking often since the beginning of this for data. We want to understand what's happening. We want to share that with the public. And we have a data team that's actually worked with the Central District Health Department to develop a dashboard that's now available so that people can see what's happening. But at the end of the day, it's the health district and the state that'll review the parameters that were listed in Rebound Idaho and that are listed in my current order and that we've shared with you here in the chat. And when they say those are met, then we will take that information and release the requirements related to following protocols for phase 2.
Great, thank you. I am just looking at the comments that we are receiving, and a lot of them are really just focused on when exactly salons can open, if we have a date available, and how soon in advance we can let them know.
So this is the thing with this. This is so hard because the governor set out a time at which he would review the data, and that's later this week. We don't know anything early. And every time we've, as a city, taken action to create health orders, amend health orders, implement what the governor has developed, we've done that after we've seen what he has announced we have to do as a state. And so he has said in his order that at the end of this week, the 15th or 16th, he will look at the data parameters and then make a decision. And so we are waiting for the data parameters to be received and reviewed by Central District Health and by the state of Idaho. And if they say it's time to move to phase 2, then we fully intend, as our order states, to amend that. But the virus is ultimately the thing that's deciding the date. And it could well be, and it looks good right now, that those state parameters are met here locally and by the state, and that we can progress into phase 2, but we won't have certainty until the governor and Central District Health have looked at that information and let us know. It is my sincere hope that we can progress as proposed by the governor's office. Our health orders address where we are today and leave open the room to amend and change as we progress from stage to stage. We want to make sure that as we're reopening the economy, which we need to do, that we're doing everything we can to do it safely, just as the state is, but recognizing that here in Boise, we have an airport, we have more people. There are some additional precautions we're asking people to follow, but that the phasing and the data is developed and specific to the health district and the state because they have access to all that information first.
Thank you. We have one question along the same vein from Shelby, and she asks, if the governor reviews on Thursday at whatever time, when will you release the information for the city of Boise?
That's a great question, Shelby, and it's something that last week I asked the same question to Central District Health because I'm trying to come up with clarity for the public as well as for city government, the process that we'll go through in signing orders and presenting them to the council, et cetera. So it was, I asked Central District Health if we can expect that the day that there is a review scheduled to happen. So if that's the 15th, will Central District Health get it, review it, then let us know what they propose we do next, and then I take action after that. And so we have our action ready and are waiting to see what the governor and Central District Health say on the day that they announce the data parameters. And then it's fully our intention that we move quickly as soon as we have that information.
Great, thank you. And I just want to be mindful of the time. We have about 10 minutes left. Sean, I think this one is probably more suited for you. Can you help us understand a little bit the difference between the resources available to a salon owner, for example, versus someone who rents maybe a chair at a salon?
Sure, Lana. And Yeah, I'll apologize if it wasn't clear earlier, but the two programs that I mentioned in this conversation, one of them is the governor's cash grant program that was just kicked off today, and that is available to Idaho small businesses with at least one employee up to 50 employees. So if a business is applying under that program, for example, sole proprietorship could apply as long as they have a sole employee. So there are a number of different organization types for businesses that are eligible. Those are all listed on the state's website for the Rebound Idaho Cash Grant Program. So that includes business types such as sole proprietorships, LLCs, even 501c3 nonprofits and regular S Corps. So I would advise folks to take a look at the website and just review the criteria for the program. But yes, it is in fact available to sole proprietorships. The other part of your question, Lana, I think you're asking about the program that might apply more to folks who aren't organized as a particular type of business. So independent contractors, for example, and that's the program that is set up through the Idaho Department of Labor's pandemic unemployment assistance program. And so that's a different program targeted, again, specifically at individuals who might not qualify either as a business or as a traditional employee. So gig workers, 1099s, you know, you rent a chair at a salon, for example, as a contractor. That would be the program that you would probably be more likely to be eligible for. And both of those links, again, available in the chat.
And I have a follow-up question on that, Sean. Is it retroactive? So if someone has not yet has been unemployed, so say that person that rents a chair has been unemployed and hasn't filed yet for that, can they still file for the time that they've been unemployed?
I know that there is a retroactivity clause in some of the unemployment benefit programs under labor. I don't know specifically for the pandemic unemployment assurance assistance program, but I'd be more than happy to follow up on that question there.
Okay, thanks.
Great, thank you. And then we just have a few minutes left. I believe we've gotten to every question. We did receive a lot of questions, but most of them were along the same vein, and I believe we got to all of them. So thank you, Mayor and Sean. Mayor, is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
Yeah, I want to say thanks to everyone for continuing to reach out to us. For those of you that have shared with us the protocols that you followed before this virus hit and the protocols you intend to follow once we're able to reopen. It's my sincere hope that I've been able to provide some clarity on our order by sharing it with you, as well as that final paragraph, so that all of us can understand that while our order addressed a whole bunch of issues in the community, when we receive the information from the health district in the state that we've met our parameters, this order is amended or changes to move us into phase 2. We all want to move forward. We really, really do. And I know that all of you have the best intentions and the ability to follow the protocols when we reach that point. And I want to be clear that if we knew now from the state that it was going to happen, we would be saying that we intend to move on. We are waiting to hear from health district and state that the parameters have been met, and then we'll take action as quickly as we can to make everything in Boise line up with Ada County and the state when that's possible. And so as I leave you today, I just want to make sure that you know that if there's something that comes up, while we can't tell you answer intricacies of your individual business, if you have questions about the protocols, questions about timing, any other questions you might have, or things that you think we should have addressed today or we should address in our communications, please email us at mayormclean@cityofboise.org or call the COVID hotline at 208-608-7000. Those are ways to get us, quickly. And then our team will be collecting all this information. I think Sean's going to try to get some more information related to those special programs that we'll share out with you. We'll share with you in a communication separate from this. And please rest assured that when we receive the information from the experts that it's time to move, we are ready to move and look forward to partnering with you in phase 2 to ensure that you and your employees and your clients and our citizens remain safe, because it's in the best interest of each of us to make sure that happens so we can continue to move forward and recover as quickly as possible. So again, thanks so much for joining, for your interest, for the services you provide our community. I really look forward to sitting in some of your chairs again in the coming weeks and months, and really appreciated the time to talk with each of you today.
Great, thank you, everyone. And
Thank you.
just to reiterate, we will send an email with all of the information shortly.
Take care all, be well. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.